Hi everybody. I think as we've sort of indicated, we've done a lot of clinics so far looking at specifics, and I think now we want these sessions to be very much about what updates are coming and trying to learn from what we're seeing is happening in other sectors. And we'll come on to that in a minute, because obviously there's a vast amount of shops, non-essential shops, that hopefully will be reopening, of which I'm sure we will be able to learn from. But above all, we hope this will become very much a two-way event where you as our clients will be able to discuss amongst yourselves with us thoughts and issues that you think are going to help us move forward and comply with our government's guidance as and when it is finally produced. So just what's changed this week? Not a lot directly relating to us. Clearly the social bubbles permitted from Saturday enabled families some forms of family reunions, which is great for the socially isolated, and enables small families to be reconnected, at least to some extent. Clearly from today, people are going to have to, if they use public transport, use face coverings, and if they're visiting hospitals from today. That's due to being in confined spaces where maybe social distancing isn't always possible, and the visiting hospitals is obvious to some extent. I don't know why that wasn't done earlier. We're not going to go over the politics of that, but hopefully that one is clear. The job retention scheme, there's guidance being issued updating on the furlough changes that come into force at the end of this month, and thankfully it is progressing for a period of time and will give us some greater flexibility. And as I've already mentioned, the non-essential retail outlets, zoos, safari parks and drive-in cinemas are all able to open from today. We will learn an awful lot from these, I'm sure, but if you go on to and use the information that was issued to them, you will see it's fairly in line with the other guidance that's been issued to other sectors. Just one thing that was slightly disappointing, which is vaguely related to our sector, the gaming and amusement sector, which was hoping to open today, over the weekend were told they could not. So they had hoped they would be in the sector being able to open, and then as of last night they were told they weren't able to reopen. So obviously quite an upset for them. What that says about people in confined spaces and working in more the leisure tourist type attractions, I'm not sure, and let's just hope it doesn't have any negative consequences on the date that I know lots of us are focused on. There's been further promotion about test and trace, track and trace, whichever way you like to call it, and it's something that's going to be fundamental in your risk assessments and staff and customers coming in to try and ascertain whether they have had any contact from track and trace, and whether that means they either shouldn't come into work for the 14 days or be asked not to attend until their 14-day self-quarantine periods are up. The 2-metre rule is under review. Clearly we'll wait for the science on that. I've seen some of the information on that still says it's 10 times safer to be at 2 metres than 1 metre. I would also love to see someone do some evidence on quite what that means if somebody's exercising heavily, if they're doing a high intensity HIIT class, how far their breath will spread. We know that choirs and other evidence of other similar type activities where you would expect breath to go further have had quite high infection rates. So I don't know whether anyone will come up with that, but that is currently under review. I think that's probably a SOP to the right to try and help the pub and trade reopen. And I'm sure over time we will see some relaxation of that, but that's where we are at the moment. The one thing I would say, which we talked about in the clinics, was try and think through how you use the publicity material that you might be putting up. If you plaster everything with 2 metres and then reduce it to 1.5, your signage is going to look pretty silly. So I would say keep distance or physical distance, and don't put the meterage in. Everybody knows it's 2 metres at the moment, and when it does relax you won't have to go and republish loads of information. So as I said, not a lot of changes this week. We're still focused on the 4th of July. So next page, please. Right, so there has been more information published. As we said, as Jill said, there's been a plethora of information coming out, and there will continue to be. The RLSS published information. When you get these slides, you will be able to click on the link and go directly to the various updated information that's been published. RLSS are also running a series of webinars. Sport England is due out today. CIMSPA is regularly updating its website with its Stronger Together campaign and is putting on national governing body advice as it comes out. The UK Active Fit Together campaign, there's an awful lot of very relevant and helpful information and tools which, if you subscribe to their channel, you will get a range of information which will support you in your reopening planning. QTAG, they've issued further guidance and advice on Legionella and safely reopening. We hope that you as clients followed the information we issued, whereby if your flushing regimes were adequate, you were ensuring over the week your flushing changed over the entire volume of your cold water and hot water storage tanks, you won't need to do very much. But there could be issues where coming back, you change the way you operate. You don't allow your showers to operate. You take drinking fountains out, where you might have to go back and do a review on your Legionella risk assessments and processes, because you could suddenly, due to changes in the way you're operating, be creating other risks that you don't want to be creating. So where you're putting systems in place to help you reopen safely, that you think that through and make sure you're not inadvertently creating additional risks. But there is more information on the QTAG guidance there. And whilst not COVID-19 related, I think it's important to recognise that this week is Drowning Prevention Week. So the more we can try and keep some level of normality, maybe use your social media platforms to be encouraging people that are going swimming, are using outdoor swimming, which is the only available swimming at the moment, that they try to choose their venues properly where there is some level of lifeguarding, and that safety is put at the forefront of everything that our customers are doing, the people we want to let back into our buildings eventually, and to restart up with swimming lessons as and when that's possible. So next slide, please. So as Caroline said, we've been out on site, two or three of us have been out on site doing virtual tours and physical tours with people. We can already begin to learn from Guernsey, and we hope at some point we will be able to get them to come and maybe talk to us and be involved in these, to try and help look at what their learning activities are. They put quite an amusing Facebook post up that was informative just pre-opening, and one of their key issues they stated was to under-promise and over-deliver. And I think with everything we do, we should be thinking about baby steps, and we don't end up having to go backwards because we realise things we put in place don't work. So maybe classes should start off small, and as you realise you can run them and keep the 2 metre distancing, your capacities reopen or open up a bit further. Don't, for heaven's sake, get into a position where you realise a class is overloaded and you're having to take classes volumes down after the event and knock people off your list. We need to give customers confidence, and you need to be a peer professional. So start small and grow your base. Look out for webinars on the Stronger Together Facebook page, which is the CIMSPA page. That again has got lots of regular updates. What we've seen, the good, the bad and the forgotten. Well, the good, we've seen some excellent examples where they've got staff back to discuss the way the centre is thinking about reopening, and where staff have genuinely been able to contribute, discuss and input into the control measures that they're planning. We've seen some excellent procedures and processes coming into play. We've certainly been looking and working with the Channel Islands, which already has had some facilities that have been able to reopen. And it's that staff involvement that I think is going to be the most key to help you successfully open, and a peer professional, and get the buy-in of staff. The implementation of staff bubbles to ensure greater staff resilience in case someone within your team gets an infection. You don't want to be having to lay off nearly all your staff because they might have come into contact. So keeping isolated bubbles is certainly one way to build resilience into your team. The bad, we've seen some sites that haven't even got started yet, haven't thought about the issues, they haven't attended clinics, they haven't really got a grasp on what they're going to need to do to create this new normal and to be able to come back safely. A number of sites have ignored the information from us, from the HSE about Legionella, and they just abandoned their sites and didn't have anyone going in to keep systems turning over, so that on coming back it's going to make their lives very difficult. And I think it's important to recognise the consequences of not having put these processes in place. Where sites begin to reopen, and I'm sure we'll see it amongst the non-essential food stuff, places will be shut down after they restart if they haven't got it right. And the forgotten, there's one very simple one that I've seen on a couple of occasions now when we're going around site. The forgotten is drinking fountains. People where they're able to put their mouth around a fountain. It's an obvious risk, and people haven't perceived that as a risk as we've walked around. So fountains have only got drinks capability only to fill a drinks bottle. You might even be able to keep it running by putting some kind of cage around it that enables only a hand with the bottle to go in if it's a hook type tap, but it is an issue that you need to bear in mind. One of the key issues is the ongoing. The forgotten part will be how you make sure ongoing you stick with this new normal, and I think there's a need to build into all processes an hourly, half daily monitoring process, so that you are monitoring that your controls are in place and that within 2 or 3 weeks people haven't forgotten and drifted back. I think some of the feedback I've seen, and I know I was taking the mickey out of for constantly mentioning supermarkets, but I know lots of supermarkets now you go into and it's almost back to the old normal. Yet we aren't back to the old normal, and it's not fair on our staff, on our customers, if we drift back and don't keep on top of the control measures that we're being put into place. Also, if you have an outbreak and it can be shown your control measures aren't working, you're putting your organisation at risk. You're putting your organisation at risk of being closed and also potentially further action being taken. So it's absolutely vital that you build into what you've got a monitoring, a review process of that monitoring, and then amendments to your procedures if you think there are inadequacies or there's over the top in some areas, to try and help you operate as effectively as you can. You will have seen there's been lots in the media this week about pubs and restaurants reopening. That's the pressure for the 2-metre guidance to be revised, and we wait to see what will happen. But keep your eyes on the non-essential service sector. I think we will learn a lot from them and see the good and the bad. And we've got an example on the next page of something that we think is a good example of what some organisations are offering. And I'll just let you watch this and then we'll have a brief talk about it. If it opens up. Is it coming? You will, when you get these slides, obviously it doesn't look like it's opening. We will try to keep opening it. You will be able to click onto the John Lewis link and see the very simple promotional video that they put up welcoming people back to their stores. It's done by a member of staff. It's somebody who's positive, and any site can do a very simple walkthrough explaining what you have opened, what your controls are to get it to work, and also, above all, what isn't going to be available, and how your controls are effectively going to work. Yeah.
Can I just ask, can you actually see the video?
No.
Oh,
no.
It's not playing.
No, it's not playing. That's why I started talking over.
Okay. Well,
is it playing at your end?
Send the link out. It's playing on mine, but it's not playing for everybody. So we'll send that out as the link.
Yeah. So I think the key message here is, and if you use this as an example to look at, it's very simple. It's very straightforward. Any site should be able to, and it's been overwritten with text as well if you've got the capability of doing that. It's almost going back to the thing where for DDA we were hopefully recommending as an industry that people think about little videos to try and encourage people with maybe autism or ADHD to have confidence to come into their sites. And this is no more than that, but showing the control measures for COVID. So when you get it, please look at it and use it as a tool to help you plan what you're doing. Hand back to Caroline. You're muted, Caroline.
No, sorry, we lost the slides for a second. Okay, next slide. Right, couple of things that I've got down that I just quickly mention before we go forwards. We're conscious that there's an awful lot of guidance out there and it's coming in from every single direction, and we are reading it day in, day out. So whilst we are sending you all the links, please be assured that we will make sure that we are reading it. And if you don't have the time to read all the information and you've got questions, please keep them coming to us. What we don't want you doing is spending all day, every day, reading every single website and watching every single webinar. Just watch the ones that you really want to watch, and if you've got questions, come through to us. Conscious that you could be doing that all day. Drowning prevention, which I think, Ian, we've mentioned already, is a great opportunity for you to touch base with all your swimming lesson parents. A good opportunity to reach out to them. And just a couple of other things just to back up what Ian has said. One of our clients knows of a supermarket in their town that has been shut down because they weren't following social guidelines. And I think that's really quite key for us to know that they will go out there and they will stamp their authority. I was at an open water lake on Friday night, and the police have been down there virtually every day checking that people are keeping their distance, and that the park aren't allowing people on the the water park and everything, that people are just swimming. So and the other thing that Ian was going to mention, but I think didn't, was one of the forgottens that we've seen is water fountains. Please go back into your centres and see where water fountains are. The ones where people put their mouths down, obviously you're going to have to potentially switch, for the ones that people can just put their bottles under. So Ian, was that okay to re-mention that? I hope it was.
Yeah, it's always, it was in there, but yes, it is one of the very obvious transmission issues.
Okay, so from our point of view, things that we've covered, just so you know that you can get hold of, remobilisation plan. Everybody was sent a copy of an Excel checklist, oh gosh, a couple of months ago now, ages and ages ago. Obviously that's been updated. We've now got a chunky, detailed remobilisation action plan for you guys to pick up, read, have a look, check, and as a check and challenge to cover what you've done. This week, what we've done, for those of you who have our QMSs and our health and safety manuals, rather than having to rewrite and reissue all of the procedures that have any link to COVID-19, what we've done is we've done a pandemic management procedure which you can put on top of your QMS. So it covers the changes to each procedure, all the generic procedures, so COSH, PPE, first aid, customer communication, customer care, all of the generic ones, and then it leaves you a space at the bottom to add your activity specific stuff from your risk assessments. So you'll be able to use that as a training tool for your staff. Again, it is another chunky document, but we thought it was an awful lot easier than us having to reissue a whole QMS and for you all to change everybody on it. Jill's just going to say something.
Yeah, Caroline, we might as well cover this off now. Somebody's just said, where can we get the access to the action plan?
Okay, are we sending that out?
Yes, we will be sending it out, but as Caroline has already said, this is a very, very chunky document. I think there's about 56 pages to this document. And as you all have probably noticed, we have limited these clinics to our clients only. We had great numbers at the previous clinics, but there was an awful lot of people who were not Right Directions clients and who were not paying for the services in the same way that you were. So we asked that we will send it out to all of our clients. but please, please, please do not circulate it and do not share it. That was a lot of work for our team to pull together, and we would like to maintain it just for our clients.
Okay, frontline staff pandemic awareness training is going on the Future Fit Education platform. It's being finalised at the moment. That will be being launched in the next couple of weeks. It will be an opportunity for people to first come, first served, go on it and get it all for free. So please watch CIMSPA's website for that. Otherwise there will be a small charge, obviously. We will be issuing a safety alert this week on face masks. That will come out to everybody this week. And for other information, if you want to have a look at some of the other things we've been involved in, the CIMSPA Stronger Together, if you go on their Facebook, our recent clinic was on, one of our clinics was on there. And again, on the website, we've now got a page that's called COVID-19, and you will be able to find anything that we've issued out this week. And then there's also a tab for anything that's come out prior to that. So please feel free to go on there. Obviously, that's all the information that's for anybody in the industry. The remobilisation action plan and the pandemic management plan are just for you guys that have committed to working with us going forward. So in terms of risk assessments, there are now all of the risk assessments for COVID have been on for a few weeks. Again, ring us if you've got any questions about that. Feedback so far is people are finding them very, very easy to use and far, far better than having to look through all their other risk assessments. One question that was asked of me last week is, because obviously risk assessments have to be published for organisations that employ more than 50, should we be putting out the risk assessments for every single centre? And our response is no, just put one generic one out that's for your organisation, and then the specific ones can stay with the centre. Let us know again if you need any support, and I think what we're going to do is move on to questions and answers.